Oil markets were split today, with U.S. crude pushed up by reduced flows from Canada, while international Brent prices eased. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures were at $62.38 a barrel, up 70 cents from their last settlement. Brent crude futures were at $65.48 per barrel, down 19 cents from their last close. The opposing price direction of the two main crude benchmarks has sharply reduced WTI's discount to Brent to around $3.22 per barrel, down from over $7 in late 2017. And for more on the current global oil market trend, I'm being joined by one of the research analysts with financial derivatives company, Iretunde Shole. Hello, Iretunde. Thank you very much for joining us on the program, and thank you. Welcome to our studios.
Thank you for having me.
So tell me, oil prices seem to have stabilized at between $62 to $66 range in February. So what would you say is responsible for this?
Well, I believe there are, two sides to the coin. So on one hand, there's the supply side. So as you know, OPEC, have had sustained cuts in terms of production from, the beginning of 2017. And, these have seeped into 2018. So for now, that's definitely been one support in terms of the price of, oil. Now, on the other hand, there's, demand factors. So, there's been global synchronized economic growth, in powerhouses such as, the United States and the UK. So, global demand for oil has increased. And, in particular, we've, experienced rather harsh winters. So, taking the US as an example, in Atlanta, there was snow, for the first time in years. And as a result, the demand for heating had, increased. And as a result, the demand for oil has increased.
Now, the U.S. dollar has depreciated against the basket of currencies by approximately 12% since November 2017. Now, what is the likely impact of this on Nigerian oil market?
Okay, so a phenomenon that we're actually experiencing is that, interest rates have risen, but what's actually happened is that, the dollar has depreciated. So, as a short-term outlook, of course, if the dollar depreciates, it, provides a support, in terms of the price of oil. So, from November till now, the average, price of a barrel of oil was about 58, dollars, and now we're trading about $65. So it's definitely increased. So someone would definitely say, oh, because the oil price has increased, therefore oil revenues have increased. But there's a factor that most people don't take into consideration, and that's money illusion. So now the $65 that we're currently trading at is not actually worth as much as it was back in November due to the fact that the dollar's worth less. So if you now take that $65 and take it back into November, what you actually find is that we're trading around $57 a barrel. So, my answer is oil revenues have actually, decreased.
Great. Now, you did mention OPEC's measure to cut production. Yeah. Now, how likely do you think, how long do you think this will continue?
Okay, well, last week, the Secretary General, Mohammed Bakindo, he met with the President of Russia, Vladimir Putin, to discuss, these production cuts. And the general consensus was that, these will continue up until, the end of 2018. And they would hope that, a relationship can continue past that. However, one thing that we cannot ignore, is the increasing threat that is U.S. shale production. So over the past couple of weeks, they managed to increase production by about 800,000. Now, if you take into consideration that OPEC have tried to be reducing the amount of barrels that are going into production by about 1.8, that means that the US and OPEC, they're working against each other. So, and as a result, the increased production by the US is offsetting those cuts by about 50%. So, to conclude, OPEC, have said that, they will increase, I'd rather decrease production up to 2018. However, OPEC has, a duty to serve the members. And right now, because the US production is increasing so much, they're actually losing market share. So, if this increases, to the point where it's actually affecting, the revenues of those, countries, then, we might see a change in policy. So, they, will decrease production. But at the end of the day, the production cut might be a wild card.
So, an international petroleum summit, of course, is ongoing now in Nigeria. What do you think the summit aims to achieve?
Okay, so the summit essentially is a gathering of the global leaders in oil and gas, sector. In fact, also attended by the Secretary General. And what they've come to do is to discuss Nigeria's petroleum industry, given that it has, it's number one in Africa and has about 37 billion barrels of oil in terms of its reserves. So the bone of contention is that, Nigeria's gas reserves, are very much untapped. And what they want to do is make use of it. So, there are going to be talks of how can Nigeria become a leading, producer of gas, but more so, how can it improve, its upstream services, and more so in the sector in general, how can it attract, investors to put their money, into, that industry. So, there'll be talks of, the ongoing reforms, in that sector, the know-how processes, but more importantly, how it can utilize new and existing technologies, in order to improve the industry.
All right, thank you very much for your time, Iritunde Shole. Thank you for joining us on the show.